wisdom. Yeah, we often usually lots of wisdom coming from both of us. So this could be just a peach of something to share. So let's just open the circle, adding the fire element. And just take just a couple of minutes to settle into your body. Take a deep breath into your belly and see what that feels like. And really relax on your exhale. And just take a few deep breaths. And as you do, just imagine that you are wandering around inside this sphere of who you are. And as you're looking over here, you can see the little girl that you were when you were 12, and about to become a woman and facing all of those challenges. And just see her and welcome her into the circle. Wander past the version of yourself that has resentment and anger and regret. Just welcome her into your circle. Walk past the version of yourself that all she wants to do is lay in the grass and read a book and listen to the birds. And welcome her into the circle. Witness the version of you that is dancing and tossing her hair around in wild abandonment, in love with the movement of her body and the pulse of the music. And welcome her in. Witness the version that just wants to be held. His arms feel empty. And welcome her. Just sort of do a slow circle, witnessing and acknowledging that there are thousands and thousands of facets of who you are, and they're all beautiful. They're all wonderful. They're all perfectly welcome into this whole integrated, alive, vibrant, wise being that you are and that you are becoming. And we're welcoming the wild, welcoming the wise, welcoming the wounded. Letting every aspect of who we are be not just okay, but celebrated. All right, let's take 3 deep breaths together to solidify this intention, to solidify this quest for harmony and wholeness. Okay, first breath in. Let that all the way out. Next breath in. And release. Magical third breath in. And let that all the way out. As we will, so mote it be. And so it is. That was nice.
Mm-hmm. Very.
Yeah. I love all those versions of me. All right, yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about today is oh, here's Ulrika. Let's see what she has to say. No, it's a voice message. Hang on. All right. So Ulrika is not going to be able to make it. So she left me a message that said she's not going to be here. So um some of us, I believe, that I've witnessed in the world. Good grief. Seriously? Okay, do not disturb. Okay, what else can I fix to keep us uninterrupted? Okay, I think we're good. Um, so our wisdom can feel like it's in our intellect, that's in our education, in our um mind. And it is all of the things that we've learned through our lives and the things that we've figured out and experienced and mistakes that we've made and we've filed away in our brain, don't do that again. It is in our intellect, but there's also wisdom in all of us and most especially in our spirit and our bodies. And um, so looking at the wise part of ourselves in a broader perspective and sort of seeing how much weight we give to her, right?
Mm.
Yeah. And I believe that some of us and we go back and forth. Of course, nobody's just being this way all the time, but sometimes we are so much embracing that part of ourselves that the wild is pushed aside. She doesn't have a place. That's inappropriate from this place of wise and together and knowing and smart and intellectual and integrated into society. And so giving more attention to our wild side is only going to make us more whole. And then our wounded side, sometimes we can stay there. Sometimes we can be in our pain too much and for too long and delay our healing so that the wounded parts are dominating our lives or pressed aside, not acknowledged, numbed out, ignored, right? And so the feeling of the conversation today is how do we bring all of these aspects of ourselves, these three big ones, but also the little ones that we talked about that just kind of showed up during our opening, that each bit of us gets to be honored and integrated and loved and known. And so that's the beginning of our topic today. And of course, as always, we can follow this thread or we can just go wherever life is taking us. Um, for me, I have a great tendency to show the wise woman to the world, but when I'm alone is when I let the wild woman come out. And that there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, if I were to allow my wild side to be more readily seen, am I not empowering other women to let their wild side be seen, to, send the message that it's okay, that this is a brilliant, beautiful part of you that you get to embrace and indulge? It's a question. And if I were to say, okay, you know what, people, I want you to see my wild side, what exactly would that form be? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That was my first question. What do you
yeah,
mean by wild?
yeah.
Like
How would
what are the components of
Yeah,
wild?
right. So if we were together, we could totally build a fire and dance naked around it if we wanted, but here in the digital world, say, well, what does that even look like? And, I'm in some groups and experiences where our leaders will, put on music and encourage us to get up and dance. And I do that, but I move outside of the camera range.
Mhm.
Right? So maybe that's a simple switch is that I just say, okay, the world can see my knees or the world can see whatever part of me they can see while I indulge in this urge to move my body and feel my body and be with the music and just kind of escape all the thinking and the appropriateness and the this is how you're supposed to be for a minute. And we do have to. I know I don't use that word have to, but to walk in this world and have impact and to fit in and belong and do the things that we do, there are, we can't go to a restaurant barefoot is a very simple example. That there's conformity that is required to get along in our modern society, right? To just
Yeah.
be able to go where we go and do what we do. Um, and that's absolutely wonderful and good, and we should be doing that. That's part of our power is bringing order and bringing structure and bringing intelligence and wisdom. I don't know. I'm off on a tangent here. Um, but yeah, so what comes to mind for you besides, how do we dance naked around the fire on Zoom?
Well, I mean, I actually equate my wild more with, well, I mean, first and foremost, you know, letting my wild go in public. No. I mean, for me, my wild is, my sensuality anyway is mostly for certain audiences, or myself. That being said, I've done ecstatic dance and stuff like that, and like I don't feel about it one way or the other. That being said, especially when it comes to dance, I think I have a streak of the exhibitionist in me anyway, I always have. So,
Yeah.
so I don't even think about it, but I know a lot of other people would think about it. I know I might think about it more when I was overweight. I might have thought about it more. So I'm trying to think of what would hold me back. But when I think of wild, I think of really like being my authentic self emotionally and how I express that. And of course, I can express emotions intellectually, spiritually, and physically. But for me, I think tapping into the wild, that's the most, it's the part I want to do the most, but it's the part I've learned to fear the most. And so I spent a lot of my life, you know, toning that down because I feel extremely deeply and widely. Um, and then in a recent relationship, I kind of I let that guard totally down because I was under the impression that I could. And I could for a good long while. And it felt freaking amazing. It was so liberating to not feel like I had to tone myself down. Um, but like I said, that was short-lived. And so now because I let that genie out of the bottle, and I'm not sure that that is why my relationship crashed. I don't think so, but maybe. Now I'm cautious again. Um, that's the interesting part too. I think the caution also is conditioned. So when you said a 12-year-old girl, and I was thinking to myself, I was already being conditioned by then. You'd have to get to like 8, 10, then you're talking to the wild child. By 12, I'm already concerned about what people think of me, like much more than I was previously. And so, yeah, I think that's something that we're conditioned with. But I have this natural proclivity to try and be authentic. It's my, I always joke it's my Scorpio rising. Um, I
The
don't, yeah, I don't like keeping secrets, yeah, I just like to let it rip. So for me, it's the emotional part. That's the thing that really trips me up in terms of not, whether I let my wild out or not.
Yeah, so you've brought up such brilliant, brilliant points. And How beautiful. So, the lesson that I'm learning in your story is that if I'm ever in another relationship, I want it to be like that short-lived period where this is somebody that is totally, and we talk about women who run with the wolves a lot. That
Mhm.
book is one of my real favorites. And in one part, she recommends, she's if you're a man who really wants to love and know a woman, read this book. This is what's going
Mhm.
on inside her. These
Totally.
are the, yeah. And so when you find someone who is strong enough to hold space for you to be exactly yourself, as wild and
Yeah.
uninhibited and as you are, then why would we ever settle for less, right?
No, and it was magical. It was like I felt like my Empress self
Yeah.
for maybe, the first time since childhood. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was pretty special. And so now it's like, it's really weird to, I often grasp, I haven't been anywhere even close to thinking about the word relationship, but part of me, wants to just lead with that foot now and kind of like let things fall off for better or for worse, right? And like if you can't handle it, then you can't handle it. Like I really, I really wonder about that.
Okay,
And
so
I would say all my relationships, like any new relationship. The problem with older relationships is that, if you morph, then all of a sudden you've got a lot of explaining to do, or things get weird, right?
yeah, exactly.
Because people have certain expectations already of your behavior.
Mhm.
But now, and especially because I'm in such a new place, I'm kind of like, yeah, like I should just let it loose because I can redefine myself. Like I just no one knows me, really
Really,
in the situation that I'm in, other than by existing relationships. And like I said, I'm not even just talking about men. I'm talking about just
everybody. Yeah.
relationships in general, right?
Yeah. So that this is a really good segue into the wounded part. Um,
Oh.
yeah, because
Oh.
yeah. Um, so sometimes it can feel like we and a lot of the deepest wounds in a woman's heart are usually come from her children. If she doesn't have children, they come from her mate, her relationships. Of course, your other family, there's many people with the power to wound us. Um, but what is the path of I just got this picture of a wounded she-wolf retreating into her den to be alone,
Mhm.
to lick her wounds, to heal, to regain her strength before giving anybody else a chance to wound her again. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of times that's a part that we skip, that we just go, oh, this hurts so much. I'm going to look out here for another man, another relationship, another experience, a substance, a distraction to just numb that and squish it down, right? And so we don't give enough attention to the wounded, right? We don't give ourselves the time and space to truly heal and integrate, that scar tissue is stronger
Mhm.
than real tissue. And we have the power to take our injury, take our wounds, take our broken hearts and transmute that pain, that experience into something that serves us going forward, right? Not in
Mhm.
hardness, not in putting up walls or barriers, but in just strengthening and expanding the space that we have to hold all that life has to offer. Does that have any resonance for you in the and I know you
Yeah, I mean, I've spent the better part of many months now proverbially licking my wounds. So, but also too, I'm not really sure when you're ready as well. Like, it's been my experience. because I have tried dating, but what I've found interesting about that is my instincts feel almost that much stronger. Like I'm really not willing to even consider anything that seems remotely off or certainly not threatening, but not um, organic, perhaps. Because I'm not really sure when you're ready or when you know you're ready, in the sense. I mean, obviously, you have to work through, like you said, a lot of that pain. But the crazy thing is too is like I'm maybe just a weirdo that I fall off the horse, I get back on it, and I'm not sure that that's wise or not wise. But it's like many things. Like I think back to like losing a pet, and the first thing I do is after a mourning period, I get another pet, you know. But I think the difference with that is coming to grips with self and how much of a relationship or the desire for a relationship is external validation versus
Mm.
internal being internally at as much at peace as you can be. I mean, heartbreak's heartbreak. I've had heartbreaks before that I still feel, like decades later, there's, yes, you're right. Scar tissue. The only problem with scar tissue though is if you get hit in the same place again, it's particularly cosmetically very difficult to mend that wound again.
Mm.
So it resonates for sure, but I don't know when maybe it's just when you surrender to the whole mess. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so and these are the questions to ponder. I mean, I threw up my hands and said that I don't know how to do any of this. I don't know how to do relationships. I don't know how to be the right person for my family. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I was just screwing everything up. And I ran to the mountains and, deliberately isolated myself. I didn't plan for it to be for 10 years. Um, but in hindsight, that was how much time I personally needed for and I'm not recommending that anybody go hide in a cave for 10 years, unless you want to. Of course, that's absolutely our option. But
But how did that continue? Like what, I mean, I talked about instinct, and so I'm curious, like for you, because things become habitual as well, right? That's why I said like at what point at what point are you healing, and at what point is it habitual, and like you know how do
yeah,
you figure that out? Or
exactly.
or or laziness.
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
yes, believe me, it would have. I was very content on my mountain. I could easily have just stayed there with my dogs and cats and lived out the rest of my life, never doing anything, quote, important. I could have just kept doing that. But this is where true spirit and the universe intervenes. And so
So
gradually,
what dragged you out of your cave?
well,
Is
it just got more and more uncomfortable. I was supporting myself with this advertising sales position that I'd had for many years while I was treating this business like a lovely heart hobby and just loving my life, making enough money to get everything, to not starve or be kicked out of my house. Um, and then just enjoying playing with my business. And then that went away, and I had a choice to make. Do I find another corporate gig like that to pay the bills, or do I really put my heart and my attention into this work? And I was like, well, this is my chance to build this business. And so I did. But in the meantime, in that gap, it's like the bill still had to be paid. So I was Ubering. I was editing and publishing a book for a friend. I was I Airbnb my house. I was trying all these things to bridge that gap,
Yeah.
and it just got less and less and less comfortable. And one day I woke up and I said, you know what? All I'm doing is spending my time to pay for my things. And it was like the universe was just slowly but sure just nudging me out the door. Then three of my cats disappeared
Oh, wow.
from six
Well,
cats.
that's a sign.
Yeah, just
There ever was one.
bam, bam. Yeah, exactly. Because I'm like, oh well, I can't go. What will I do with these my
Yeah.
soulmates, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it just so slowly but surely, and then I'm like, okay, and then I surrendered and said, all right, this is what we do. And within a month, everything was done. My house was sold. My pet,
Within a month. Oh, shit.
pretty much. I made the decision like in September. And by November 1st, I was out of the house. No, not by November 1st. By Thanksgiving, in
Mhm.
very, very short period of time. Between the time I contacted the realtor and the house was sold was only 2 weeks. So it all, once I said, okay, I surrender, I'm selling everything. I'm gonna go see the world. I'm gonna find homes for these pets. I'm gonna have faith. I'm listening, then everything just fell right into place and here I am. Yeah. And so, but I mean, I could easily have said, no, no, I'm not listening to these messages. I'm staying here. I'm staying here. It takes, paying attention and deliberately wanting to, to grow and move into the next step. And, of course, it's different for everyone. No one's going to have exactly the same experience, but I wouldn't give anything. I wouldn't take anything for those 10 years and for I mean, I'm truly in a place now where no one has the power to steal my happiness. No one has the power to devastate me. Um, there are people that I love that will leave the earth, and that's going to be incredibly painful and hard. And but that's also a part of the cycle of life. And yeah, and we're equipped to deal with that. And I just, we'll have to stay in touch and see. But I don't know if anyone has the power to break my heart. You know, I don't know if I can be rejected or cast aside in a way that will truly damage me. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's a hypothesis that has to be tested, right?
Mhm.
Have to try it out and see. Um,
Mhm.
but at this stage, I honestly feel like all of my relationships and every kind are icing on a cake that is already beautiful. I'm so happy and strong in my own skin that it's just really easy to enjoy you and enjoy all of my friends and enjoy all of my new friends and enjoy all of my encounters. And even when I encounter people that push my buttons, it's kind of like almost like, that person pushed my buttons. It's almost like not even a real reaction. So well, we'll see. Well, life unfolds as it unfolds, and I'm certain I will be tested because if you're not ever doing anything that challenges you, you're staying still. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, for whatever reason, I've just been very much, the fool in the tarot, whether it was work, work projects or whatever, relationships. Um, I have a proclivity for diving headfirst into the deep end, and it doesn't matter what it is. I'm just wired to be passionate about what I'm doing. And so now to be honest, a lot of it has been, you talk about changing, and for me it's been um a period of really not being passionate about anything external, in the sense of I had a lot of healing to do. I was very much um, the wounded wolf and trying, still keeping my relationships going, my friendships and my family. But lately I'm almost in a different evaluation process where I'm sort of thinking like if people aren't bringing out my best behavior, then I probably shouldn't be valuing the relationship or putting a lot of energy into the relationship anymore. And that's it. And it's really selfish of me. Like I'm the quintessential or was the quintessential people pleaser. So for me to even entertain these concepts is very, very strange. And in fact, I look at my behavior and my retreat as being very, very selfish and coming off as very, very selfish and needy and sad and all those things. Meanwhile, the people who do bring out my best are like celebrating me but I'm not celebrating myself.
Mhm,
And so um maybe that's that nexus, between
mhm. Yeah,
being ready and not being ready
yeah.
is are you celebrating yourself or are you still walking wounded? Are you still thinking what was done on to you or I'm famous for the if I coulda woulda shoulda, like if I'd only done this then that would have and it's just like it's mind-boggling, it's just like oh stop already, like why are you even going there?
There
um
a couple of things that you said that I don't want us to skip past, because the conditioning. No, that's okay. Well, we're going to come right back to that. The conditioning of if I take care of myself first, that's selfish. That is absolutely untrue. That is one of those things that we started being conditioned when we were little.
oh very little.
Yeah, exactly. And then I also, for the sake of people might watch this recording if we share it, the Fool in the tarot, that's the zero card. That's the childlike abandon and curiosity and the place from which everything is possible. And the Fool is not foolish. That I kind of wish there was a different word because
Sometimes.
but,
Little.
but the intent is to just get out there and see what happens and just dive in. And so
Well,
that
it's the faith card. To me, it's the faith card. It is the quintessential faith card. And yeah, it's blind faith. It's like, okie dokie, here
uh-huh.
we go.
Yep, very, very cool.
Are
Yeah.
you with me?
Yeah. And then also I do feel like you'll know. You will know when so like I've been in, I went to rehab back in my early 30s and um and Alcoholics Anonymous, and they, always recommend that you don't have any relationships, no sex, no anything like that for a time period when that's happening. And I think I mentioned to you, if I were a directive coach and I were counseling a woman coming out of a relationship, I would prescribe a period of solitude. I would say, don't date for X amount of time, and give yourself a chance to regroup. Of course, I'm not a directive coach. I'm a spiritual guide and accompanier. Um, but it's really something to consider. And we've been talking in recent um, gatherings about the the power of solitude and the value of stillness and um, all of these things combining to help us shore us up and give ourselves the self-care that we need so that we become reliant on ourselves for feeling good, for feeling strong, and not needing the rest of the world to tell us we're okay, right?
Mhm.
And yep, it's a process.
No, I am 1,000%. You are speaking wisdom. But then again, it's like, okay, so how many months?
Right?
Like I waited six, well, I guess it'd be September, October, November, December, January, February. Yeah. So 6 months before even considering dating. And
yeah,
while I'd been dating though, it's like,
yeah. And I don't think it's about the amount of time, but
yeah,
so I don't go on a date until the thought of going on a date sounds fun and there's no yearning. There's no,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's one thing I have to say is I've sort of I'm pretty detached about it. It's it's become a bit of a social experiment. And to be fair, for our listening audience, I need some good stories to tell my friends because, my finding myself, it's we talk about that, but it's not entertaining.
So,
Um,
so you're dating just so you have a life to talk about?
Yeah, I am actually. Yeah, and it's actually been kind of funny. Like, no word of a lie. I mean, now there have been a couple of barbs where I was just like, and again, I am quite detached, but there have been a couple of situations where I was just like, ow, like really? But not so much about me, more about like, are you really going to behave? Like, is that really the way you think? You know what I mean? Where it's
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's the reason that I'm out exploring the world. Is, I want to see what people are like. I want to see what people do. I want to
Yeah,
see what humanity is all about, right? And I actually, and in hindsight, the universe and knew exactly what it was doing because that experience driving people around Uber and Lyft
yeah,
and
I
all of that.
bet.
Oh my goodness, I met so many different kinds of people and heard so many different stories. And, yeah, it was like, wow, the humanity is vast and varied. And, so yeah. All right. So we're coming to the end of our time. Anything else you want to talk about before we?
Well, I think again, just sort of going to that idea of wild woman. I really think it is like, how do we, and maybe this is a little bit easier as we get older because like our hormones aren't messing with us quite so much. And I'm talking for women who are past menopause, right? We
Mhm.
are menopausal,
Right.
God help us. And there's a whole bunch of things about that are myths too, let me tell you. You get the right fella, everything works just fine. But anyhow, that Um, it's more like maybe we are more able to tune into our intuition because we don't have that chatter. And I think biologically, like I swear to God, estrogen is the great equalizer. It's like this effing pink fog, right? Where like when I think back to like the shit that I did on estrogen, I'm just like, wow. Like A, ooh, maybe shouldn't have done that. B, oh my God, I did all that. What was I doing? Like there was no time for me, like I had just made all these external things, my family and my husband, all career, everything about other people,
Mhm.
not me.
That,
Um, so yeah, so I think, maybe it's hormonal. I sometimes wonder, is it wisdom or is it just we don't have estrogen? I don't know.
why can't it be both?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just postulating, but going back to that idea of, the physical manifestation. So I think that's the thing to cultivate that and again thinking about like our emotional authenticity. And yeah, like do we want to be with people that are gonna make us feel like we need to be smaller in terms of what we bring to the world? Because I think our spirit and in particular our emotional, like our softness is our strength, like I mean, I've gone through like brutal heartbreak, but I have stayed soft, and if not softer, which might sound like a contradiction, but I'm fighting for it really hard because it's going to be important to my art. It's important to me as a person moving forward. So that therein, I think, is really the crone, the wisdom is just getting super soft, and that requires a shit ton of grace, and
Mhm.
I'm working on it because like it's like that Seinfeld episode where Elaine goes, Grace, Grace. I don't have a lot. I don't. So, I'm working on it.
Yeah. Well, so and this is a path. So, you made choices along the way, whether you realize it or not, to 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 bend, to be resilient, to not let yourself be hardened and embittered and jaded by life's experiences. And there are others who don't, who they let their heart harden. They put up their walls. They hold on to their bitterness and their anger and their rage, and they lose their softness. And
Mhm.
these are choices that we all get to make. And I'm so glad that you chose to hold on to softness, and you absolutely we have no obligation to spend our time with people who think we're too much, who want to make us small, who don't, reflect, who oppress us, right? So, first of all, we stand so strong and resilient that we cannot be oppressed, and we make discerning choices about who we include in our lives. Just because
Mhm.
we choose to have love and unconditional love and compassion for the entire world doesn't mean that we have to let them come in our house and step on our head, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, and that can be people really close to us. I'm
Yes,
dealing with that right now with one of
yes,
my children, and it's breaking my heart. But guess what?
yes.
Enough's enough,
It
you
is.
know?
And so that is a twofold path. That is you building your own resilience and your own strength so that it's a hard word to say, but you're unfuckable around with. Oh, unfuck aroundable with. So nobody
Mhm.
can push your buttons or set you off because you are so grounded and peaceful and calm in your own stuff. And then
Yeah,
the second path is gentle boundaries. They're like, so you're very clear that I love you with all my heart, but you're not going to shit on me. That's
yeah.
right.
Which I have to read you this quote. So
Okay. This,
I'm gonna credit my editor on this, but it's effing brilliant. Okay,
okay.
I love this. My family installed my buttons a long time ago, and now they know how to push them. Every time I call my mom, it's dialing for pain. Our dynamic is not bringing out the best in me. And I just went, mic drop,
Yeah.
right? Mic drop. So
Yeah.
that's why, again, like my new relationships now, I'm thinking, you know what? You just shine, shine, be you.
Yeah.
Because, the rest of you with the buttons, I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
I have enough now.
Yeah. You don't get to push my buttons, and I'm going to uninstall those buttons.
That
You're,
would be nice.
yeah.
That's a lot harder, but that's
But
what we're working on, right?
so worth.
Everything simultaneously. You brought up a massive, massive subject area.
Yes, I totally did. They
No,
all
I think we scratched the surface anyway. We got the 30,000-foot view.
completely did. Ah, okay, so let's see. If you are watching the recording, the Fierce and Free Women's Circle at this point in time happens twice a month on Wednesdays. There will be a link around somewhere where you can put this on your calendar, show up whenever you can. Often we're a circle of two, sometimes we're three or four. Maybe in the future we will be more. Um, but the intent is just to, yeah, come on, it's fun, is to just create this space where we can explore some of the topics that are important to us and that we can hold up a mirror to share one another's brilliance and wisdom and to remember that you are not alone. Even though you are unique and your experiences and your path through life is unique, the the struggles that come along with life for all women are similar. And we're all in this boat on this crazy ride together. And there's no reason for us to be going through it alone when we have the support for one another. So to come be in the circle anytime that you like. Get connected with me so that if you can't match up the time, you can watch the replay, you can engage with us. There are also links to check out the Ancestral Path to Health, Happiness, and Freedom coaching program. We're live on Everyday Magic once a week. or so, depending on what's going on in life. And you can also book a free one-on-one clarity call, or we're calling it these days a pathfinding call. So we can help you chop your way through the forest and shine a light on where life might want to take you. And that's a free 30-minute call that I would be honored to walk beside you on. And again, join us back here next week. We're going to close out our circle and say goodbye and to check your messages. And I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon. Okay. All right. Just settle into your body. Take some deep breaths. Oh, I wish that I had stopped to notice my breathing before I settled in here because more than likely I was probably breathing in my chest, being a little anxious about the ending, being a little anxious about the words, and forgetting to ground into my breath. The more often we can remember this, the more we're tapped into our peace and the more space we have to fill ourselves up with resilience and softness and love. So take just a couple of deep breaths and imagine your wild side, imagine your wounded side, imagine your wise side. So, all three of these facets of you and all of the many facets in between all of that, these are all welcome to be a part of who we are going into the week, going into the next phase of our lives, going into the next moment. Mhm. And we'll close out our circle today, stepping back into our sovereignty, but knowing that we are in no way disconnected, that we are strong and whole and individual and sovereign, and at the same time, we are a part of all that is. We are connected to one another, to the earth, to spirit in every single moment, strengthened, supported, and loved, secure in that knowing. All right, let's take 3 breaths together to signify the end of this gathering. First breath in. Let that all the way out. Next breath in. And release. Magical. Third breath in. And let it all the way out. All right, and together we say yes and thank you and so mote it be and so it is and amen and namaste. Namaste. All right, I'll see you all very soon. Bye.